You know Lindsey Graham, the senator, but do you know Lindsey Graham, the man? Behind the polished speeches and Senate debates lies a world of quiet routines, unexpected sacrifices, and private struggles that most people know nothing about. What lies behind the carefully maintained privacy? And why does Graham keep so much hidden from view? The answers might just surprise you. Lindsey Graham's story begins in the small town of Central, South Carolina, where he was born on July 9, 1955. Central was a quiet place with a population of only about 1,500 people. Everyone knew each other, and life moved at a modest pace. The Graham family lived in a simple house at 217 West Main Street, a home built with stones gathered from a local farm. Today, the house still stands, but has been turned into an upscale restaurant called the Red Minnow. The stones that formed the foundation and walkways carry a little piece of the town's history, just like the Graham family itself. The heart of the Graham family's life was the Sanitary Cafe, a business they owned and operated in the middle of town. The cafe wasn't just a place to eat, it was a pool hall, bar, and liquor store, serving as a social hub for Central's blue-collar workers. From the age of 12, young Lindsey worked there, setting up billiard tables and helping out however he could. Locals affectionately nicknamed him Stinkball, and he even served beers to customers, something that would be unheard of today. The Sanitary Cafe wasn't just a workplace, it was also the family's home. Lindsey shared a single bathroom with the factory workers who came in every day, a detail that speaks to the modest life they led. Graham's early life was shaped by this hard-working environment, but tragedy struck during his college years, reshaping his future in unimaginable ways. His mother, Millie Graham, fought a difficult battle with Hodgkin's lymphoma and passed away at the age of 52. Her final words to Lindsey were a heart-wrenching plea. "Lindsey, let me go." Just 15 months later, the family was hit with another devastating loss. Lindsey's father, Florence James Graham, died suddenly of a heart attack at age 69. It was Lindsey's 13-year-old sister, Darlene, who found their father's body. These back-to-back losses left Lindsey, only 22 at the time, as the sole caretaker and provider for his teenage sister. Lindsey Graham's journey is one of resilience, determination, and an unwavering commitment to family. Despite earning a modest score of 800 on his SATs, he became the first in his extended family to attend college. This milestone marked the beginning of a path that would blend academic success, military service, and an extraordinary devotion to his sister Darlene. At the University of South Carolina, he joined the Reserve Officers Training Corps and became part of the Pi Kappa Phi fraternity. His time there was not just about academics, it was about finding a way to balance his dreams with his responsibilities at home. While pursuing his education, Graham's top priority was his younger sister. Orphaned at a young age, Darlene depended on him for stability and care. To ensure she was never without support, Graham made arrangements for her to live with their aunt and uncle in Seneca while he attended school. He spent weekends traveling home to be with her, making sure she always felt his presence despite his demanding schedule. When the military presented him with orders to relocate, Graham took an extraordinary step. He legally adopted his sister, a decision that ensured she would receive military benefits and insurance coverage. This act of love and responsibility defined him, showing the lengths he was willing to go to protect his family. The military also made special accommodations, allowing him to stay in Columbia to attend law school rather than being stationed elsewhere. It was a rare exception, made possible because of his unique circumstances as Darlene's legal guardian. Graham successfully completed his undergraduate degree in psychology in 1977 and, 4 years later, his law degree in 1981, all while managing the challenges of guardianship. His sister later reflected on these sacrifices, saying in campaign ads, "I don't see how he did it, to take on the responsibility of raising a little sister." That came from within for Lindsey. Her words captured the essence of a brother who, against all odds, prioritized family above everything else. In 1982, Graham began his military career as a defense attorney in the Judge Advocate General's Corps. Right away, he made a name for himself by exposing a major scandal in the Air Force's drug testing program at Brooks Air Force Base in Texas. His investigation revealed serious flaws in the handling and testing of samples, which had caused many innocent service members to test positive for drugs. His work brought attention to these injustices, even earning a feature on CBS's 60 Minutes. Senators in 1984. His efforts were praised for their impact on due process in the Air Force, with Lieutenant Colonel Robert E. Reed calling it the most significant and positive contribution to the USAF judiciary. From 1984 to 1988, Graham served as chief prosecutor for Europe at Rhine-Main Air Force Base in Germany. There, he handled complex international cases and was awarded the Meritorious Service Medal for his ability to resolve conflicts and foster cooperation. During this time, he also had a brief but meaningful relationship with Sylvia, a Lufthansa flight attendant. Despite their initial connection, their relationship ended within a year due to Graham's career commitments and his strong ties to South Carolina. In 1989, Graham transitioned to the South Carolina Air National Guard and took on critical responsibilities during Operation Desert Storm. As staff judge advocate at McEntire Air National Guard Base, he prepared nearly 800 personnel for deployment to the Gulf region. His duties included briefing pilots on the laws of armed conflict, helping military families with legal issues, and overseeing mobilization efforts. His leadership during this period was widely praised, with Colonel Jerry H. Risher commending his dedication and exceptional skill during such a pivotal time. Graham's military service reached extraordinary heights between 2009 and 2014, when, as a sitting U.S. Senator, he completed 60 missions in Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. Serving as a senior legal advisor, he worked closely with high-ranking officers, provided guidance on detention operations, and helped develop rule of law initiatives. His efforts earned him the Bronze Star Medal, which highlighted his long-term impact on rule of law development and his ability to navigate challenging combat environments. In 2015, Graham retired from the Air Force after reaching the mandatory retirement age of 60. By then, he had served an impressive 33 years across active duty, the National Guard, and the Reserves, achieving the rank of colonel. Reflecting on his career, Graham spoke about how the Air Force shaped his life, giving him purpose, adventure, and opportunities to serve his country. Lindsey Graham's political journey began in 1992, when he was elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives. Representing the 2nd District, Graham made a name for himself early by openly sharing all his law firm's public contracts, an unusual step that set him apart from his peers. During his 2 years in the state legislature, he focused on judicial reform and tougher penalties for violent crimes. Despite being new to politics, Graham managed to pass important legislation, including a bill that reformed the state's workers' compensation system, showcasing his determination and ability to get things done. In 1994, Graham made history by winning the South Carolina 3rd Congressional District, breaking a 117-year Democratic stronghold. His victory over James Bryan Jr., with 60% of the vote, shocked many. Key to his success was support from Senator Strom Thurmond, who personally campaigned for him. Graham's grassroots approach also played a huge role. He visited all 11 counties in the district multiple times and held over 100 town hall meetings. In the Republican primary, he secured a strong lead with 52% of the vote, defeating his competitors Bob Cantrell and Ed Allgood. This win was a turning point, not only for Graham, but also for South Carolina's political landscape, as it signaled a shift in party dominance. Graham's time in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003 was eventful. One of the defining moments of his tenure came during the Clinton impeachment proceedings. In November 1997, before the Monica Lewinsky scandal became public, Graham was one of just 18 Republicans to co-sponsor Bob Barr's resolution for an impeachment inquiry. As a member of the Judiciary Committee, Graham gained national attention for his thoughtful and measured approach, famously asking whether the controversy was more like Watergate or Peyton Place. His independent streak was evident when he voted against one of the 4 proposed articles of impeachment, showing his willingness to break from party lines when he believed it was the right thing to do. In 2002, Graham took a major step in his political career by running for the U.S. Senate seat vacated by Strom Thurmond, who retired after 48 years in office. Graham's campaign was groundbreaking, raising $6.7 million, much of it from first-time donors. He created what became known as the Graham Machine, setting up 6 regional offices across South Carolina and recruiting over 5,000 precinct captains to mobilize support. His strategic planning paid off, and he won the election with 54% of the vote. This victory was historic, as it marked the first time a Republican succeeded another Republican in the Senate in South Carolina, cementing Graham Graham's role as a rising star in the GOP. Lindsey Graham built a reputation as a moderate Republican through carefully chosen positions and high-profile appearances. During the Bush and Obama years, he became a familiar face on Sunday talk shows, earning the nickname the Reasonable Republican. He opposed torture under the Bush administration and supported Obama's Supreme Court nominees Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan, moves that bolstered his bipartisan image. In 2023, the Lugar Center ranked him in the top third of senators for working across the aisle, yet not everyone was impressed. Critics from the Tea Party branded him a Republican in name only, RINO, for collaborating with Democrats on issues like climate change, immigration reform, and judicial nominations. This tension hinted at cracks in his moderate persona. Graham's relationship with Donald Trump marked one of the most surprising shifts in modern American politics. In 2015, he was one of Trump's fiercest critics. He called Trump a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot, and warned Republicans that nominating him would lead to disaster. At one point, Trump retaliated by sharing Graham's private phone number during a rally, prompting Graham to film a humorous video of himself destroying his phone. But by 2017, everything had changed. A single golf game with Trump at his club seemed to reset their relationship. Graham went from calling Trump unfit for office to becoming one of his strongest defenders. By late 2017, Graham was publicly dismissing criticisms of Trump, accusing the media of unfairly labeling the president as a kook. Graham's transformation was especially clear during Trump's impeachment trials. His behavior starkly contrasted with his past as a House impeachment manager during Bill Clinton's trial, where he championed witnesses and fairness. During Trump's first impeachment, Graham openly admitted he had no intention of being impartial, saying, "I'm not trying to pretend to be a fair juror here." After the January 6th Capitol riot, he initially seemed to distance himself from Trump, saying on the Senate floor, "Enough is enough." Yet weeks later, he visited Trump at Mar-a-Lago, helping restore Trump's influence within the Republican Party. Graham's loyalty to Trump also extended to the contentious aftermath of the 2020 election. He faced heavy criticism for calling Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to discuss mail-in ballots. Critics alleged that he was pressuring Raffensperger to discard ballots in specific counties, a claim Graham denied, but which fueled accusations of undermining the election process. In July 2022, Lindsey Graham became a key figure in a heated legal investigation in Georgia. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis subpoenaed him as part of a probe into alleged interference in the 2020 election. The investigation focused on at least 2 phone calls Graham made to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. During these calls, Graham allegedly discussed the possibility of re-examining absentee ballots, potentially altering the election results in Trump's favor. Graham pushed back against the subpoena, claiming he was protected under the Constitution's speech or debate clause. His legal battle reached the Supreme Court, with his defense led by Don McGahn, Trump's former White House counsel. The stakes grew higher when Justice Clarence Thomas temporarily blocked Graham's testimony, intensifying the drama. At the same time, Graham's position on abortion was causing friction within his party. Once a vocal supporter of a 20-week federal abortion ban during Trump's presidency, Graham shifted gears in 2024, advocating for a 15-week national ban. This change sparked a public feud with Trump, who criticized Graham for handing Democrats a political advantage. Trump took to social media, accusing Graham of undermining Republican goals, calling his stance unrelenting and damaging to the party. Graham defended his position, stating that the pro-life movement was about protecting children, regardless of location. He argued that a fetus feels pain in California or New York, just as it does in South Carolina. The controversy deepened when anti-abortion groups like Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America sided with Graham, expressing disappointment in Trump's criticism rather than in Graham's policy. Graham's unpredictable political moves have also created tension within the Senate. He recently reversed his support for a $95 billion defense and foreign aid package, a surprising move given his reputation as a staunch defense advocate. Many of his colleagues felt blindsided by his opposition, especially since he had been seen as a crucial ally in securing Republican backing. Adding to the frustration, Graham skipped a critical NATO allies meeting, opting instead to visit the Texas border. This decision strained relationships further, particularly as Trump labeled him a RINO, Republican in name only, for opposing Trump's idea of pardoning January January 6th rioters. These shifts in position left many in the Senate questioning Graham's consistency and political motivations. Seneca, South Carolina, is a small town with a median household income of $32,643, where 15.6% of residents live below the poverty line. It's here that Senator Lindsey Graham has chosen to make his home. Despite his political prominence and wealth, Graham has remained in this modest community. Instead of relocating to a more affluent area, his house is comfortable but not extravagant, reflecting his blue-collar roots. He's often seen around town, frequenting local spots like the Waffle House in nearby Clemson. Locals remember spotting him there just days before the Charleston shooting, blending in as part of the community. Religion has also played a role in Graham's life, though not in the way many might expect from a Southern politician. He's a member of Corinth Baptist Church, led by Pastor Tim Tate, but he admitted during Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation hearings that he only attends church about 3 times a year. This candid admission surprised many, especially as he questioned Jackson about her own faith during the hearings, even asking her to rate her devotion on a scale of 1 to 10. His relationship with religion seems personal and not a central part of his public persona. Graham's bachelor status has long been a topic of curiosity and speculation. At 59, he addressed it directly, stating, "I'm not defective because I'm single." He shared that his closest experience to marriage was a relationship with Sylvia, a Lufthansa flight attendant he met while in Germany. When asked about his single life, Graham often uses humor to deflect, joking that if he became president, he'd have a rotating first lady, with his sister Darlene stepping in when needed. These remarks reveal his ease with a topic that has often drawn attention. Locals in Seneca and nearby towns often recount stories of Graham's daily life, painting a picture of someone who values routine and simplicity. Jimmy Head, a lifelong resident of Central, recalls Graham as a quiet kid who didn't stand out much. Today, Graham is known for dining alone at local spots like Wild Wings in Anderson. People notice him but tend to give him space, respecting his privacy. While he's still occasionally spotted at familiar venues, his public appearances have become less frequent as political tensions have grown. Financially, Graham maintains a lifestyle that is modest compared to many of his Senate colleagues. With a net worth of about $2 million, his assets include investments in mutual funds and corporate bonds, along with 4 accounts at the U.S. Senate Federal Credit Union. He carries 2 mortgages, one for up to $250,000 on his D.C. residence and another for $15,000 on his home in South Carolina. His $174,000 Senate salary makes up the majority of his income, and his financial disclosures suggest he lives within his means without indulging in significant luxury. Graham's public life, however, requires a balance between staying connected with his constituents and addressing security concerns. His staff manages everything from his daily schedule to constituent services, while his security has noticeably increased since January 6, 2021, when he was evacuated during the Capitol riots. Despite these heightened precautions, Graham continues to make public appearances in South Carolina, though the visible security presence is a stark contrast to earlier years in his career.